Hey everyone, I'm Boo.
And I'm Spice, and this is Fantasy Friday episode 7. Episode 7 of Fantasy
Yeah.
Friday, The Well of Ascension, the second book in Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series. And I have some notes before we start. One, I believe I erroneously called our past few episodes the wrong number. I was very tired for whatever reason that day, and I, there's no excuse. I goofed. I apologize to Boom and our fan base. Mistake.
Yeah, I will as with the poetry or the BYOP, bring your own poetries. You're kind of just the whatever's on YouTube or Spotify, that's going to be the episode
Yeah.
number. Don't listen to anything we say. This time we're right. We
Yeah, it
double
is
checked
7. Yeah, we
right
counted.
before this. Like we've got them all ready to go.
Yep.
They're already scheduled up until this point, so we're good.
Yep, I goofed.
But yeah, just look at YouTube. I'll try to remember to go through and like maybe say that we goofed, so you're not going through them thinking that we just let it slide.
Yeah.
We caught it. We
just a little too late.
It's a little late.
We don't edit, so
yeah, I'm not. I don't have the skill or the time to go back and edit that out.
Oh man. And secondly, if you hear a click clacking, Boom and I both have water bottles today for whatever reason. Just getting a little extra hydration. So if you hear that, that's just the caps of our water bottles. Can't really be helped today.
Yeah, no, we normally have a mug with me. I just already had my coffee. That's all right.
With all that said, this is Fantasy Friday, episode 7, The Well of Ascension, the non-spoiler section. Boom. First and foremost, did you ebook this, audiobook this, or paperback?
This is one of them. I did a little bit of both. I went probably maybe 60-40 audiobook to actual reading it. Just being at work and then getting home from work and the drive in between. So went kind of both ways. I think the audiobook quality is pretty good. I can't remember exactly the name of who does these audiobooks. I can look it up while I continue to say words, but they're pretty good. The quality of them, I think they do a good job narrating and giving voices to the characters so that they're all unique. You don't have any trouble figuring out who's talking, which can sometimes be a pain. So yeah, I had a pretty good time doing either way. I imagine you just read it.
Yeah, the only books I've ever really needed to audiobook for me is are the long 1800s books invented for people who had nothing else to do, like Moby Dick, Frankenstein, Dracula, and all those ones. For this, yeah, I just read it. I thought it was an okay read. I think it was about as good as the prior book, with a handful of minor moments narratively, but character wise, they were noteworthy and more interesting than anything in Mistborn. It'd be spoiling it to actually say what they were, so I'll hold my tongue. But I'd say it rises above Mistborn marginally for me because of those moments. But all in all, it feels like a slog. There's a lot of waiting for stuff to happen. And they haven't built up a lot of these characters enough for their deaths to matter to me. And beyond Sazed and his character development, the rest of this book, and Ellen's character development to a lesser extent, the rest of this book it could have been like half another book, like tacking on to Mistborn, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair estimate. It's Michael Kramer is the audiobook reader. He does a good job. He does a lot of Brandon Sanderson's work, and that's always a good experience with him. But yeah, no, I think you're completely right. I think it might be just a little better in some areas. There's a few we'll talk about that I'm not sure on, and I'd like, well, that's why we do this.
Yeah. What kind of grade are you thinking?
Maybe like also a C, but like a 76, 77.
Yup, I was thinking like a 75. The other one being like a 73, 72.
Okay, yeah.
Like we're right next to each other on that. I'm also giving myself room because I don't know if I like this more than the next installment in the trilogy, and I want to give myself wiggle room on either side.
Yeah,
I'm not going to spoil my thoughts on that because we're going to do a whole nother episode on that one. A whole nother one, guys. But my feelings on it are pretty fraught, mostly because these books are so middling. They're fine. That's the best thing I can say about these books. They're okay. There's not enough in terms of interesting academic stuff within it, like philosophical discussions outside of Sazed's Crisis of Faith, for me to feel like it's a worthwhile read in the vein of a Dune or, yeah, mostly Dune. I'm trying to think of other fantasy books of contemporary ilk that mostly um, force those philosophical situations, but I'm thinking more so older sci-fi movie or not movie, sci-fi monster books like your Frankensteins and Draculas. Yeah, those justify the length because you're getting into such interesting themes. But in terms of the main like narrative, like Vin versus the like invading armies and trying to figure out um, the mystery of um, what do they call um, the guy or the like metaphysical um, concept that's changing like the written word.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, it was something like the darkness or the deepness or whatever.
I think it might have been the deepness. I think that sounds
Yep.
right.
I think that Kelsier's brother, what's his name again? Is that one Ham? No. No, Ham's the Lord guy.
Yeah, he's the big muscly dude.
What is the name? He's the Inquisitor.
Oh, Marsh.
Yeah, Marsh, exactly. I think he's fine. I think his character development is okay. It's better in the last book, I'd say. But it's good here, good enough. I think that Zane is really lame. I think that the whole like fake destructive voice in his head trope, um, I don't know, is really cringeworthy. And having another monosyllabic mononym having name in this book that already has Vin, Ham, Marsh, Spook, Clubs, and now you've got Zane. That just doesn't sit well with me.
No, yeah, no, we are already been on that, and it's to continue to add more characters that just do the same.
It's a lame way of naming people. It's just straight up lame.
Yeah, and in a fantasy book, I mean, like that's one thing that like you can have a lot of leeway with is like
Yep.
we don't know what you name people in these things. You can do anything you want.
Two Flower and Rincewind.
Yeah, Two Flower, Rincewind. Yeah, that's way the luggage.
Nanny Og and Granny Weatherwax and all them.
Yeah, that's a lot more fun. This isn't fun.
It's the librarian. Ook. Man, it sucks that our demeanor gets so much cheerier when we're discussing Discord.
We're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there. Believe you me.
Yeah, it's too bad. I mean, it's like going to be like exactly a month from when you guys listen to this episode. When that's when the first Discworld episode will go up. But yeah, no, I think it's a lot. I definitely agree with what you said about the you're not. It's a story that's just not quite interesting enough to be as long as it is, and not get into anything more deep or compelling besides just this, you know, them trying to defend against these armies. Like that's, I don't know. It's not as entertaining as it could be.
I think if this were a movie, this entire book could fit into like 30 minutes if you subtract like Tindwyl and Elend and
Yeah.
um like their dynamic, Tindwyl and Sazed, their dynamic, and Sazed generally trying to um settle his crisis of faith. Like it's I just don't care about fake battles. I'm not that kind of fantasy guy.
Yeah. No, the content just doesn't quite match up with the length. It's like Bilbo Baggins would say, it's too much. It's not enough butter spread over too much bread.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That is a good way to put it. And it feels like more happens in Mistborn in a shorter amount of time, which is insulting. Or the same thing with Elantris. It's an entire narrative in less pages. And like it's got better developed characters in less time.
Yeah, and you just feel good when you finish that because you've gotten everything you
Yeah,
wanted
you
out
got
of
the whole
it,
narrative.
and you didn't have to go through any just reading to read
It took me
because it's
months.
this long.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you finish a book like Atlantis, and you're like, all right, like, that was all.
Yeah.
That was all necessary for the most part. Like this
Very
is when you get
seldom.
through with it,
Yeah.
and you're like, what in the heck did I have to listen to all that for that conclusion? But like, yeah, if you were gonna make a movie, it would be a lot shorter than you would imagine for a
Yeah.
book that's this long. It's like the opposite of Lord of the Rings. People complain because they leave out scenes from the books in the movies.
And those movies are like
And
several
3
hours
hours
long. Yeah. Yeah, there's
or
3 of them.
more.
Yeah.
And people are like,
And there's a
you
director's
left
cut
out
and
this
stuff.
character.
Yeah.
Like, how could you do that? And they're like, listen, like, there's too much stuff here to make the movie would have to be 9 hours long.
You and your boy Tom.
Yeah, exactly. Tom Bombadil. I love him, but he doesn't like, you gotta, no one's gonna watch a 9 hour movie. Or like the regular viewer, if you haven't read the books and you're not a crazy fan, like you're not gonna go to the theaters and watch 9 hours of a movie. I love the books and I can barely, I can't watch those all the time.
I've got a question for you. If they came out with Mistborn movies or movie, one, like whether it's a series or one, would you watch it?
Yeah, I would. It's kind of like how there's another trilogy of Mistborn books, and it's like I'm probably gonna read that.
Yeah, I'm gonna read them.
Oh, whatever. we're 3 books deep at this point. Like, you're pretty far in. You're past the toe.
Like 2,000 pages.
I'm pretty invested in this world now. And I hear it could be happening. I guess there might be some kind of adaptation in the works.
I don't know why they would.
Been on his YouTube, like he's teasing. Yeah, I'd be interested to see what they do. Like movie series. I don't know how much. It would have to cover all 3 books or something like that. You wouldn't be able to do like with Dune, where you do part 1 and then part 2. I feel like you could probably just do a movie.
I don't know how they do Vin. Like I feel like we've moved beyond the YA fantasy protagonist being boring because of being a self-insert, where it's like, you're reading it and you're like, oh, that could be me. Your Harry Potters and your Katnisses, and to a lesser extent Katniss. Like I thought Percy Jackson was more of how people were moving, where they had actual interesting characteristics that made them protagonists people wanted to read.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Percy and his issues with dyslexia and stuff.
Yeah.
And the fact that that's not the case here, that's like, blank sheet of white paper, Vin, just like, I don't know how they're going to progress with that. I don't know if they're going to add characterization in this, or if it'll just be through visualizing her interactions with her brother that might lead to more interesting characterization. I don't know. I don't know if they'd keep them in because that would add to the runtime significantly.
Yeah, there's a couple things that would just make it tough to really get that across in a video format.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the brother thing. I like these fight scenes he's describing sound pretty expensive. They're gonna
Yep.
actually show us because I don't know what's going on for most of them.
Yep.
Uh,
It's like, what are you drinking when you do the potions? Like when you drink tin or whatever, or eat it or whatever.
yeah, how are you gonna make
Is that going
that?
to be like a food in a little capsule, or are you going to have it be CGI? And how are you going to visualize burning? Is it going to be like in their eyes? Or are they going to change color?
Yeah, because we're gonna have to know
Yeah.
somehow.
How are you going to do the coin stuff, like the coin jumping? Um, the falling out of the air will be easy. That'll be easy enough because that's just CGI.
Mhm.
Just have them in a morph suit, like a green morph suit, and jump from one high place to a lower place
Yeah,
in some sort of cool
now the
superhero
bounding
position.
off of coins,
Yeah,
pushing
getting
off of.
up.
How do you
Yeah,
visualize the pushing that's happening there and
yep.
the pulling?
You're gonna need like a budget the size of like an X-Men movie for it to look anywhere close to decent.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff that happens is only visible to the person that's doing it.
Yeah, intentionally
Like,
so.
yeah,
You're
so
supposed to not know when people are burning.
yeah, so like with the coin shots, like there's that blue line they say that connects you to all the metal. Like, are they gonna show us that only if Vin's doing it or with the other people? I don't know. It's a lot. I mean,
Yep.
if they could do it well, it would probably be interesting to see.
And I imagine some characters' arcs would get cut whole cloth. And I imagine the first ones on the chopping block would be the ones that are the best, just because they're such ancillary characters, like Spook's arc into the third book, Sazet's arc at the entire time,
Mm-hmm.
Orsor and the other Condra's deal.
Exactly. I feel like that would probably get glossed over if even put in there. I think they'd really grab onto Vin and just try to milk that character, even though there's not a whole lot.
Do you think they'd tease a romantic subplot with Zane and Ellen still? You think that would be meant to be like a selling point?
You know, probably, yeah,
Like
it could
a
be.
triangle,
Yeah,
Zane,
I can
Ellen,
see it.
and Vin? Like boring, lame, and boring ish.
Yeah, no, I think that would probably happen.
Yep.
No, they'll probably, but I'll have to look further into it. But it sounds like the last I looked was like months ago, and we were. I mean, we just read these. What do you mean? But I was like, I saw it. I follow Brandon Sanderson on Instagram,
Yeah.
and I think he was saying something about doing some kind of adaptation.
Well, if it comes out, we'll cover it.
Yeah, and maybe that they get a little bit of creative liberty. I know they just
Yeah.
did a Lord of the Rings kind of thing where like it wasn't quite canon, and people like that. I haven't seen it yet. I can't make a comment on how much I like it.
I wait with bated breath for your opinions.
I know, I
Lord
know.
of it, so.
You guys are chomping at the bit, but yeah.
If Mistborn's a show, the odds of me watching it go down drastically.
If I can't do it in one sitting, or if I have to wait week after week, yeah, that'd be tough.
I already spent months reading these books. Boring, boring books. And on that note, join us next week or next time for Brandon Sanderson's final Mistborn book of this trilogy, The Hero of Ages. And join us for the one after that, if you decide to skip that one, for Discworld 1, The Color of Magic. And I've been Spice.
And I'm Boom. Thanks for listening. And we're back with the spoilers.
Now, Boom, I want to lead with the stuff we liked before we get into the stuff that we didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, one, I think there's going to be more on one side than the other. But also, Brandon, if somehow you find this, we don't dislike you, and I'm glad you write. I just don't like your art too much. It's not for me.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not. I mean, we're giving these books like decent grades. It's not. We're just like we're just nitpicking on stuff that isn't our favorites. It's not like we dislike the author
Yeah.
or it's just not really our thing. It's a lot of people's things, so it's obviously not a bad book. And we're giving them like C's. Like those are passing grades. It's not like this is not the worst stuff we've read. We're just
I consider C to be fine to okay.
yeah.
Like 79% like and down, okay. And like 71% up, fine. Anything below a C is when you get into like bad.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm not happy I read this.
Like
happy
should
I
I
read
should
it
I
just
talk
so I
about
can
the
yell
book that
about
I
it?
just read that
Sure.
might be the worst book I've ever read? So at some point I plan on reading the sequel to this book and getting booming on it, but this will probably be after season 2 of the mainline series. Ready Player One's the worst book I've ever read. It's really bad. And the worst part is I like the bones of Ready Player One better than the bones of something like Mistborn. Like, I like that it's post climate apocalypse. I like that it's unclear whether or not technology has been influenced by Ready Player One or if Ready Player One was clairvoyant in its prediction of technology. But either way, it's either been impactful on the progress of technology or predicted the progress of technology almost to a T. Like whether or not the metaverse ever becomes something that people legitimately get into is unclear, but he called it. He nailed it. Like in terms of at least aspirational
Yeah.
technology, he nailed it. And like the concept of the stacks, it's something that could happen, I guess, but like just the reaction to rising tides and people being unhomed and things like that, that is super realistic. So like the like base of this story is already something that impresses me. And then everything else is awful. Like you're following the least interesting person in a very interesting world. I He acts in ways that I would never act, and he acts significantly less mature than his age just throughout the book. And I hate it. And I'd never say that about a Brandon Sanderson book. I do not like these books, I'd say, generally, but I do not hate them. And I do not hate you, Brandon. I also don't hate Ernest Klein, but
I hate him.
I still don't like him.
Yeah.
So, on that note, boom. What are your favorite things about The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson?
I think they have a pretty cool thing with this the deepness, like the manifestation of this bad energy or the destructive part of this force. With him changing the writings, so it seems like the Lord Ruler uh, gave over the power, like just influencing their actions with what he's writing on these slates that they think they're finding untouched. So by the time Vin gets to the well, and she's like, oh, "Okay, I just have to like give over the power." He didn't give the power over; he kept it for himself, and that's why everything went wrong. So when I take it and I give it to this, that's what needs to happen. We need to give over the power, and then by the time when she does that at the end, and it's freed, and then we find out that was its plan. I think that's pretty cool, like the being misled thing.
So I disagree, and I'd like to talk to you about it.
Okay.
I I don't like it, and that's merely because like with things like that, I like more clear foreshadowing because I don't like being tricked. I like to be in on the trick.
Yeah, I will say at the end of this book, I was not very pumped about that because that's like how it ends.
Yeah.
Is like when this happens, and you're like, there really wasn't a whole lot to it. They explained it afterwards. Like once he's explained it afterwards, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. It's a good idea. Maybe if they'd like been able to, they had something before where like it was, just some kind of
let us see
indicator
the
at all.
changes. Yeah,
Because there was not, like, when she just handed it over and he's like, "Oh, you gave me the power. I'm out of here." That was pretty
yeah.
jarring. And then for it to be the end of the book, like I do remember being like slightly mad, like actually like physically upset about it.
Maybe
But
one minor character notices the changes in the text,
and just
and
can't be heard
or
about it.
they tune them out
Yeah,
like
exactly.
intentionally because they're like, well, we're too busy spook or whatever to be
That could have been
following us. Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I guess I like the idea of that, but yeah, I guess it definitely could have been.
I'm
Just
not
a
trying to
little
change your
bit.
opinion on it.
No,
Yeah.
I still like it. I mean, I
Yeah.
still like that is part of it, especially if you're going to make another book, because it just seemed at the end of Well of Ascension like they were at the end.
Yeah.
So it felt almost like that's just like how you're getting your next book. Is this because this is happening? Or you got to the end and you're like, I was just supposed to be a trilogy here. Like, I gotta squeeze some more out of this. It's like, oh well, actually, these were changed the whole time.
Yep.
It definitely. I think that would have been cool if we had another character, just maybe not be listened to,
Yeah.
not think it like he doesn't know
Doubts
enough to
himself.
say
Yeah.
anything about it. That might have been interesting. Kind of like with in Elantris, where Serene is like hearing the noises in the night.
Yeah, and everyone ignores
And
her.
then, then at the end, like, okay, we didn't realize what he was
It would
doing
be
at
that.
all.
Yeah, but he was doing something.
But we knew that something was happening, and this like was a complete blindside for
Yeah.
me. I mean, like I was literally like, what the heck? Like now there's enough. Now that's the end. But no, I do like it, especially if you are trying to make a trilogy out of this, and that isn't the end, or just getting the power and giving it over. You got to have some kind of like place they messed up in what they thought. But yeah, maybe we knew a little bit more about it, or those twins and lies just flipping script. It kind of felt like that.
Yep.
It was like, what?
Yeah.
But no, and I thought that was cool. Sazed's always pretty cool.
Yep.
This is a good book for him. I like his dilemma.
Best character in the entire series.
Yeah, that one. That's like we said in the last episode. Sazed is like a good character.
Yeah.
Not just good in
for this book.
Mistborn. Yeah. Like Sazed is an awesome idea.
Yep.
Made into a pretty good character. Like
yep.
I mean, he does a good job with him.
Great idea with very good execution.
Yep.
Minus maybe the eunuch thing. Other than that, I enjoy all of his stuff. Better than anything in Elantris. Almost as good as anything in Dune. I wish this series was just about Sazed. I really do.
Yeah, he's one of those things where you could have your own series, like or a spin-off or something. He is very. Anytime it was his turn to be on screen, in my mind, was a good time.
Yeah,
especially opposed to like the rest of this world and how rough it is,
and dreary and ugly and
having
painful.
Him be generally positive and then kind of like slip into this doubting all these religions and what do they even mean. Like that's a very cool arc.
Well, it's a shame that you start this book where he's doing what he wants and you never really get that again, where he's just like teaching and making people embrace religion. And...
Yeah, I'm a big fan of like end game in books. Like once the conflict's over, I like getting to hang out with the characters for a little while. Like that would have been nice to just get a little bit of that or come back to that after. I guess that might not be super entertaining. I think it ties into liking to be where you're reading.
Yeah,
I just like when all the main characters I like get to do their thing for a little while.
Yeah, I might not.
I'm torn out.
I don't think I'm like the guy to be reading Brandon Sanderson, I guess, because a Brandon Sanderson fan who reads these books and is like, man, I love what I'm reading here, would be like, that's like, I'd be bored out of my mind. Like, where's the fighting? Where's the conflict?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm cool with just watching Sazed go around and have mini conflicts and like just teach people about religion and stuff and commit to his like teachings.
Yeah, exactly. Like mini conflicts that he expects when he's teaching these religions again, and not like world-ending things that make him go back into doubt. That'd be nice. And
Yeah.
you don't get that very often in much fantasy, just like cool times.
Yeah.
Especially much fantasy lately.
That Lies one is an especially big example, like
Yeah.
of the times where people are just like happy and vibing. There's like before the Red King, or is it the Gray King?
Gray King.
Yeah, the Gray King takes advantage of Locke. They're pretty happy then. There's when Jean is putting together his gang in Red
I
Seas.
love that.
He's pretty happy then. There's a time where they are on the boat and they're pretty happy, but they're still dealing with the ticking clock of the poison. And then really at no time during the last one.
Yeah.
During
No,
Republic of
they're
Thieves.
not comfortable much there.
Because like you've got the ticking clock the entire time of these magical beings
It's always
attacking.
looming.
So even in a good book like that, like a real good book, set of books, you still don't find many moments of just calm and enjoyment.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Where knowing the audience he's writing to comes into it.
Yeah.
You probably just don't get a whole bunch of people who are just ready for a chill little couple hundred pages.
Yeah. I'm not talking
But-
like the Ewok party at the end of like Return of the Jedi. I'm thinking more like in the middle of Jaws, where they're like singing on the boat. I'm tired and I want to go home. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. Like that's like the best scene in the book, it is a book, but the best scene in the movie, because it's just like you take these characters that you like, and you're giving them moments to just be characters without this gigantic conflict going on right now. I mean, the animal's still out there, but he can't get them while they're like in the boat, like
Yeah.
it's not like the deepness or like the poison where they could
I
get
think
you at
I
any
think
time.
that's the struggle. It's just like the stuff that you're going through is just non-stop. You can't take breaks. But even still, I mean, like you're living life. There's no way these guys weren't like smiling at some point. I'd like to hear about it.
Yeah, especially Sazed. Sazed, maybe the Chandra at the end of the series, but that's about it. Other things that we liked. Marsha's development is pretty well progressed.
Yeah, Marshall's a cool character. Having to go in and become the Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Going through all that stuff. Now I'm starting to mix it. We're back into the maybe spoilers for other books
Yep.
in the series because I can't remember when this stuff is happening. But this is probably the next book. But just him dealing with like some of the stuff that happens when you're an Inquisitor is pretty interesting. Like the stuff that goes on with them and how they're controlled.
I think their ritual to become Inquisitors is pretty gross. I don't like hearing about stuff like that in fantasy books. Like just pinning innocent people together.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No.
I forgot about that. That is rough. And he describes it pretty
detailed,
pretty thoroughly.
Yep. Not good.
Yuck.
Yeah, this is kind of the story of the book. Like even our positives are like, like I like it, but
yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. I mean, positives are pretty good. The bads are like pretty bad.
Yeah,
it's all just all right. It evens out to all right.
Yeah, none of it's as objectionable as like Paul comparing himself to Hitler in Doom 2.
Exactly. There's nothing nothing crazy bad.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy good. Like I mean, like Sazed's like really good, but just we don't get to see him as much as we want.
I don't like how dehumanized the Colossi are, where they're still like humans, basically. I don't enjoy that. There's that scene where Ellen cuts that dude's head off, and it's seen as a turning point for his character, which I enjoy. But it sucks that the entire series, like a book and a half, you spent having this boring dweeb.
being like in charge.
Yeah. And now I wouldn't even call him cool. Now he's just like a regular fantasy protagonist.
Exactly. Yeah, he just evolves into an average guy from a dork that doesn't become an especially cool guy. I think his outfits get cooler because doesn't he have a coach like who's like teaching him how to be a
Yeah,
better
Tyndall.
leader? Yeah. Oh yeah, Tidwell. That I forgot about her. I remembered Sazed had a person, but I could not remember the
It
name.
was Tyndall.
Tidwell. Yeah, that's a good. I like them.
It's nice that she has a name that isn't lame.
Yeah, that's a cool. That's a fantasy name right there.
Yeah, Tidwell.
That's cool. Even Sazed. I mean, like
Yeah.
that's fine too.
How do they say Sazed in your audiobook?
Sazed.
Good.
Yep.
Good. I was afraid it'd be Sazed.
Yeah, I was.
Sazed.
No, they give it Sazed. They do that. Does happen though. The pronunciation of names, like in the audiobooks, will like kind of shape the way I see that word when I go to read it. You know, and like I don't like if I start with the audiobook and I get these characters and I will say it totally not how I would read it, just because that's the way. Which is interesting because like I don't know how much hand Brandon Sanderson has in the audiobooks, but like it's weird sometimes hearing these character names or any names like I think or like any book. These characters like Serini is how it's pronounced in the audiobook. Hrathen is how it's pronounced in the audiobook.
It's not crazy far off.
No, that's close.
Yeah,
that I can see. Rayoden, like most of them are close, but there are a couple. Like Serini was weird.
Yeah, I don't like that.
That's said weird. It's like pronouncing all the letters individually.
Yeah.
And not like a human would read a word. But it sounds good while they're reading it.
Yeah. I mean, they do a good job.
You definitely know the character. I mean, because it sounds wild.
Yeah, Tyndall's okay. She's a little one-dimensional at the beginning, but I don't know. Are you really sad when she dies, other than for Sazed?
It was, yeah. It's more for Sazed.
Yeah,
because it's part of his going through it.
And you're so desensitized to characters dying at this point.
I think that's a big part of it too.
Yep.
She didn't get to be developed far enough anyway to get too mad, and then I mean, people just are dying. There's a lot of people dying in this book. These books.
Yep. That squirrel kind of sounded like a horse, like whinnying.
A crazy one.
Yeah, I wonder what that guy was up to. Yeah. By the way, there was a squirrel noise if you couldn't hear it from a window outside.
Yeah, I don't know how good our mic is.
Good
We'll
enough.
See. We'll listen. Yeah, we'll listen to this. We'll see if there's a squirrel in it.
Yeah. Yeah, Ellen just fine. Vin's still pretty lame. Feels like her only character other than being powerful is being sneaky and afraid. Those are like her three character traits.
What's the name of the guy who can pull on emotions?
Ham or Breeze?
Breeze.
Yeah, another monosyllabic name.
Yeah, Breeze. I don't remember if it's this book or the next book, but he gets kind of interesting.
See the one who dates a girl like half his age, and Brandon spends the entire time being like, "Man, this is kind of weird."
Yeah,
but like she's into it, but it's still kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he goes through some cool, like because we get to learn a little bit about like why he's pulling on emotions so much. Sometimes just to be an ass, because just make people get him drinks, but also, people are starting to kind of come apart at the seams, like during this rule, and he's helping to calm people down, and doesn't. It's weird that you're doing that with people and not saying anything to people. It seems kind of
gross.
Like a
invasion
bad
of
way
privacy
to handle that situation. It's weird that that's like portrayed, like because they give him like a hero moment, where he's like I don't do this thankless work of making other people
Yeah, of manipulating everyone around me.
than how they actually feel. Because he's like, he's trying to make people feel good, and then like they start like making, they start talking about how he's a jerk and stuff, and he's like in his heart, he's like feeling that he's not, because he's like, well, I'm actually helping these people, but like, is it really?
Yeah.
Making someone feel a different way because you can, and you want them to.
Yeah. Weird character in general.
It's a weird power, like it's one of those that's cool. Like, I mean, it's interesting when it's used sometimes, like when Vince trying not to get killed,
Yeah.
and like that makes someone not kill you. But it's weird to just casually be doing that all the time. They say
Constantly.
he does it without even thinking about it. Like that's a
Gross,
crazy way to
yeah.
live your life. Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine being one of like his family members.
No, I couldn't hang out with him at all. I wouldn't feel comfortable with that.
He's being manipulated constantly.
Yeah, and you wouldn't know because he's apparently really good at it. I need burning one of the elements. I'd have to refer to the chart. Burning one of them can help. Copper, maybe.
10, I don't. Drilling him.
That's funny.
Nice.
Oh gosh, there's more to this chart.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Boom's looking at the chart.
There's a lot of stuff in this chart.
It's like a periodic table. I don't know.
It kind of is. It's bigger than the last one because they've introduced more things that they don't know about, and yeah.
Well, do you want to look at the last one?
No, I think I've got it. One of them just cancels the other ones. I think it's copper. I'm pretty sure that like hides your allomancy, but like I think it also like keeps you from being allomanced. You can put me on record for that one.
Sounds right. Feels like he made a better board game than he made a book.
Just looking at this, I mean, like this chart is pretty impressive. It looks like video game instructions or board game instructions.
There's no way Brandon hasn't played D&D.
No way. I wonder how many just fantasy writers have been a part of it for them.
We should play D&D at some point.
We should. I know we have a couple people interested.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu, yeah. But they're so busy. I'm afraid of inconveniencing them.
Yeah, they're talking about doing it on like Sundays, like after open mats, but like I'm busy on Sundays after open mats sometimes, and I hate
being all gross. Yeah, being all
and
nasty.
you're like, you just did jiu-jitsu for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to go home and then come back.
I live close enough that I could go home and come back, but I'm not the same as everyone else.
Yeah, I know. I live like 20 minutes away.
It's like that time that our friend did that stand-up, and I drove home and
you got to go home and shower. We're all up there, all gross.
And everyone else is like, damn, Big D, like you like what, like why are you dressed like that?
We literally, I'm wearing like a pair of just exactly what I was wearing a half hour ago when I was rolling, feeling all like I need a shower. And him and Bam show up like
dressed to the nines,
ready to go.
Oh man,
all comfortable and whatnot.
Jeremy grabbing onto me, and
he was having a good time.
Tim visibly uncomfortable.
He does not like to be out, man.
Yeah, that was very funny. That got me good.
And when we were at the fight for Christian and Nate, he was just sitting in the corner the whole time. And like we're like, come out and like hang, man. He's like, I'm good right here.
Strange. Coming from a guy who's so social during like.
That's what we were saying. We're like, you're like one of the most talkative guys up here, Tim. It's like that's when I'm with my group in my place.
Fascinating guy.
Yes.
So Brandon Sanderson.
Let's do it in a row. Just tangent on jiu-jitsu. We also like talking about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. That won't be a podcast.
We're not gonna.
We don't know enough jiu-jitsu to be a podcast.
No, neither of us are quite experts.
I don't know what belt you have to be to do a podcast on jiu-jitsu, like brown belt.
I guess brown belt. If you can own an academy, I think that's fair.
Or the kind of guy that they let you in for free, so you can like
Show
with
other
their
people,
students.
yeah.
Yeah,
Or just be valuable to another school.
precisely. That might be the point. Like brown belt, we're not anywhere close to brown belt.
No.
I'm like on the
Right
doorstep of getting my blue, and boom is working.
Yeah, we're pretty new.
Yeah,
He's closer than I.
but I've also been doing it long.
But yeah, but he's been trying to get me to do it for a while. Now I'm finally into it pretty significantly.
It's awesome. We need to get Bam in on it.
I know Bam talks about it every time I
hate
talk
it
about it
because he's so
into it.
athletic, and he's like I don't know. It's a shame. It's a real shame. Yeah, this book isn't very good.
now we're just talking. Yeah, I didn't have have much more. I like. There's cool. Yeah, there's some cool things. I like. I mean, what are those? The Conjure are still kind of cool. Their society is interesting. We already knew that.
Yeah, I don't really care for their society. I'm not a big like battle between rich people guy,
Yeah.
and that seems like what Brandon loves doing the most.
I agree.
Owen is fine. Zazet is good. The Conjure are good.
Colas or not.
Colas or not. The thing with the deepness changing text is and varies based on your mileage.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting if we'd known more.
I don't like being tricked
Yeah.
in a way that
Yeah, it's one of those things. It was cool when you know about it.
Yeah,
but at the end of this book, when you're just like thinking this is the end and you have no other reason to like suspect it's not, for it to just be like, oh, that's actually like the exact opposite of what you wanted to do. Sorry, we'll catch you in the next book.
It's like if a magician didn't use sleight of hand but just use like CGI.
Yeah,
like
you're never gonna be able to see it.
Like that magician's actually a robot. Like that's how that feels.
Yeah, dude, that's good. That's a good point. Covers are all right for these. I think I forgot to say it. Elantris's cover is also all right. But the head on it kind of. Well, these are all the additions we have. The head kind of blocks the E a little bit.
So it looks like Flantris.
Yeah, I mean it's intentional. It might not be too bad, but like just from a passing glance, I kind of read Flantris. I don't know.
Yeah, these books aren't super good. And join us next time for
the next one.
The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. And join us the time after that for Discworld 1 by Terry Pratchett. And I've been Spice.
Boom. Thanks for listening.